We endorse fruit snacks.
ASMR.
Hi! I'm Bret Williams.
I'm Josh Elliott.
I'm Kysar Hunt.
I'm Alex Simpson.
And today we're going to be reviewing Suburbicon.
Yeah, another review that we are
2 months later. So there's this town called Suburbicon. Matt Damon lives in it. There's this murder that happens. There's an investigation. And there's this random racial message in the movie that has nothing with the plot. And that's the story. Our overall thoughts.
I liked it a lot, except for the whole racial subplot.
Yeah, I disagreed
yeah.
with most of the critics' reviews. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it should have gotten the rating it got because I had a good time watching it.
I agree with most of the critics, but I think what they disliked about it wasn't as bad as they made it out to be. Like, they were like, there was one thing I didn't like. 2 out of 10. I thought it was an enjoyable movie. There were just flaws.
Performances were good. Matt Damon was great.
Granted, he does seem to play the same character.
That's very true.
Julianne Moore is also fun in this movie.
Julianne Moore 1 and 2.
What about the boy? What was his name?
He was a good child actor, though.
Good child actor is a good way to put that. I wouldn't say he was doing great. For a kid, he did
Seemed
really
better.
well.
Spoilers. If you're interested in seeing this movie, then leave now, I guess.
Throughout the movie, there are scenes with this racial message, and it has nothing to do with the plot. I thought it was interesting, but I just didn't think it worked at all.
Well, I feel like part of it was they painted it as this huge, important part of it, and it was moderately, but you can remove every scene that it is in, and it wouldn't affect the outcome of the movie because they never closed it.
If they could have gone another route where they had different stories happening in Suburbicon, I thought that would have been a more interesting concept.
Like if it was about the entire town.
It was about the town itself, yeah.
That would have been cool.
But the story about Matt Damon and Julianne Moore isn't particularly that interesting. It's a murder mystery, but the mystery is solved very early on.
You already know what happens.
It's
probably 30 minutes in.
So
It's very
predictable.
It's like the climax happens at the beginning of the movie, and then the rest of it is falling action.
Julianne Moore plays twin sisters, and Matt Damon is married to one of them. The one he's married to is murdered in a mob robbery thing. Matt Damon and the other Julianne Moore are actually in love, and they arranged for the other Julianne Moore that he was married to be killed. And they tell us this very early on in the movie.
There's no surprise or shock factor to it whatsoever.
I figured it out right after it happened.
Like the 6th scene in the movie, they're just downstairs making noises and being suspicious. They show it from the kid's perspective, and it just paints Matt Damon as this menacing character, and you're like, oh, he's the villain.
Yeah.
And that's 15 minutes into the movie.
If they're gonna do it from the kid's perspective, they should at least save it towards the climax, but they chose 30 minutes in to just say, hey, this is what happened, now you know. I would have liked if they saved it for later in the film.
Or made it more innocent. They made this kid super analytical. This kid was mentally fully grown.
And I think the movie's at its best when it's being told from the kid's perspective. When it's not, and it's just of Matt Damon and Julianne Moore, it's significantly less interesting. And I think the reason is because these characters are the bad guys. It's not like they're anti-heroes where they're the villains but you kind of want them to succeed. No, they're bad. I did not like them at all. I didn't want them to succeed. Yeah. And so you're not rooting for them. You're just kind of watching their plan fall apart.
It was different than what's going on in normal movies where it's you see the rise and fall. It was the beginning of the movie. They'd already kind of succeeded, but then it was failing as the movie went on.
That's a good point.
And then it exploded on him, which was interesting. It was kind of different.
The main part where the crime starts to fall is when the kid comes into the lineup, where the 2 people who actually did it are in the lineup, but both Julianne Moore and Matt Damon are no, they're not up there, we'll keep looking. And the kid sees him and goes, no, that's the guy. And they're no, it's not the guy, you're a kid, you hallucinate.
I actually thought that he was schizophrenic or something like that.
I'm just curious why they need to pay these mobsters, and they have the chance to literally put them in prison, so they never have to pay them. They're just we're going to live up to our word. We're not going to put these people away for murder.
And if they spoke up about the fact that they were hired by them, it would have been their word against theirs.
Yeah, they could have said they made us lie, and then they get away with it.
I never really thought about that.
Literally, if that happened,
I didn't think about that either.
The movie would end.
It would just end. Alex Crime Eater. The uncle when he died. I think that was it. But I think it was maybe a 2 out of 10. I didn't cry that much.
I did actually like the scene though when it was just Matt Damon and the boy sitting across from each other.
Oh, and he's eating the sandwich.
And
that's
he's super pissed off. I really liked that.
It was he had all the cards and then he died face down on the table.
Yeah, and he was eating the sandwich and everybody was in the theater was oh.
Because earlier in the movie, Julianne Moore crushed up a whole bunch of pills and put it in this peanut butter and jelly sandwich and milk, and was planning to give it to the kid, but he never ate it, and Matt Damon ate it and died. So.
Yeah, the parents literally tried to kill their child.
Because he knew too much.
With a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a glass of milk.
Alright, we can go to final verdict now. I didn't know anything about this movie going into it. I saw no trailers. I was just like, I'll see this movie, sure. I had a good time. It was pretty good. But after, like, discussing some of the things, like, I started to realize how kind of not really good this movie is. There could have been a lot of things that they did that could have made this better. So, honestly, I'm going to give this movie a 6.
This movie's very meh. It's a funny farce. The acting is alright. It's very colorful and bright, but I wasn't emotionally invested in any of it, so I felt like I was just kind of watching all this shit go down to characters that I didn't like. 5.
I enjoyed the whole movie. During the movie, I was picking it apart. I was like, there's so many plot holes for that reason. And the weird racial subplot, I give it a 7.
I went into the movie the same as Bret. I hadn't seen any trailers. I actually didn't even know Matt Damon had made a movie. It's one of those things that you go in, you sit down, you watch it, you enjoy yourself, then you think about it, you're like, wait a second. It's like watching a movie you watched as a kid that you loved, and realizing it's a bad movie. So I say I'd give it a 5.
So the final verdict is a 5.75.
That's pretty well deserved.
Which is still a lot higher than its Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
Didn't he get like 20s?
He got butchered on Rotten Tomatoes.
People say it's because of the racial subplot, but why would you give it a 20% because of a subplot?
Other than that, it was like a super fun movie to watch.
So what did you think of Suburbicon? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment and let us know. If you comment, I will put random pills crunched up in your peanut butter and jelly sandwich and milk, and I'll make you drink and eat it.
Peace out.
Smoochies.
No.
I'd like to end my subscription.
Bye.
Thanks for watching our review of Suburbicon on High School Film Nerds. Click over here to subscribe, and click over here to watch our last video. Thanks.